5 years ago, almost to the day, I had purchased one of my very first cycling kits. And during that time, I had given my professional camera to my wife and told her just to snap a couple of pictures of me so that I can upload them to Instagram. Fast forward 5 years later, never would I thought that I would get to a point in this sort of cycling journey where I'm able to not only review various cycling apparel brands, but also be able to review frames, wheels, bikes, components, etc. To the point that most recently, I was picked up as a model for a very major, well-known sporting brand. In today's video, guys, I'm going to give you the story on how I became a model for Adidas. Okay, so let's just go ahead and jump right in it. Now, due to the fact that I had to sign an NDA when I was working with Adidas, I actually unfortunately don't have any footage on the day of the shooting. So some of the B-roll footage you're gonna see in this video is just gonna be me, just various B clips from previous videos, just things on my bike, random photos of built bikes, etc. So let's get started. So back in December, one of my fellow club mates reached out to me and said, hey, there is a casting happening down in South Beach, Miami in particular, where they're looking for cyclists for an upcoming photo shoot for a major Western apparel brand. Now at this point, I'm thinking this is probably a fluke, but who knows? Okay, so it's the off season. I don't really have a lot going on as far as riding outdoors and even just various cycling reviews and components. So I figured, let's see what this is all about. So I had to sign up and create an account on one of the major casting agency websites online. So I go to look at the ad and it says that they're basically looking for a very, very specific type of cycling / model. Essentially, they didn't want anyone that came across as a recreational cyclist. They wanted someone that was really, really serious into cycling. So I'm going through the description of this particular photo shoot. You know, they wanted someone, they wanted a person of color, but they wanted someone that was athletic, within a certain range, a certain height, a certain apparel size as well. I basically am a size medium in everything, etc. So basically, I go ahead and apply for this. I submit photos of myself, like a profile photo. I even had to submit videos of myself, as well as various sort of professional photos of myself on the bike. So this was like basically on a Monday. I go to submit it. I don't think much of it. Literally a day and a half later, this is basically like Wednesday afternoon, I get a phone call from this agency and they say, hey, we've reviewed your profile and we think that you might be the fit that we're looking for this big time photo shoot down in Miami. Now, still at this point, I'm still a little bit apprehensive because I'm like, this can easily be a fluke. This is my first time ever modeling in this capacity. I have done some modeling in the past. In fact, before I got into cycling, I was in the menswear and suiting industry as far as social media goes. So I had done some modeling as far as like wearing custom made suits and stuff like that, but never when it came to sports. I would just basically do my own pictures with the help of my wife, as well as some of my local talented photographers, cycling friends here in Chicago. So they tell me that they want me potentially to come down to Miami to do this photo shoot. And they started asking me questions as far as my availability goes. And I tell them that I'm pretty flexible at this point. So the next day they call me again and say, okay, we just want to make sure that you are available next week to come down to Miami for this photo shoot. Again, I'm not thinking much of it. I'm thinking, okay, yeah, I'm available. And I'm just saying that because I'm thinking there's no way this is all going to go down this quickly. So then literally the day after that, they say, hey, this is the airfare we're going to book for you coming out of O'Hare going down to Miami. Are you positive and can you confirm that you can make this flight itinerary? I tell them yes. The very next day after that, I get another phone call and they say, hey, we like what you saw based on your modeling profile. Yes, we are confirming we would like to fly you down to Miami for this photo shoot. So I go home. I was doing like a zone 2 interval. I go home. I tell my wife, I tell her, hey, I'm going out to Miami next week. Next week, Tuesday, this might be the last time you ever see me because I'm probably going to get kidnapped, but who knows? So I get the email from them. I get the flight itinerary, all this stuff. I'm flying through, I think it was like either American or United Airlines. And literally the next day after that call, I'm on the next flight down to Miami. So I make it on the plane. I get to Miami. I'm like, okay, I can't believe this is happening, but who knows? So the company tells me, we're going to have a private driver for you, pick you up from Miami International Airport, and then drive you to your hotel in South Beach, Miami. So I go to the airport, I see my driver, buddy's got my name, my last name on a whiteboard. It says Lino on it. So I'm like, yo, I can't believe this is happening. So I get in, it's like a freaking luxury SUV Escalade private car, crazy, right? So I'm driving from the airport down to South Beach, just taking in the views, just really soaking in the fact that this is all happening. So I get to the hotel, and at this point I see a couple of other athletes there, and I'm thinking like maybe they're with Adidas too. I don't know, because you know they're wearing the Adidas apparel. But basically when I get to the hotel, it was in fact Adidas. So it was all of the media folks, their social media, marketing, advertising, like straight up actual employees from Germany. Like they had the German accents and all. It was crazy. So as soon as I get there, I go check into my hotel. So they booked my own hotel for 2 days. So I go to check into that, and then they tell me an hour from now, we need you to come back down to one of the banquet halls because we need to do a trial fitting for you so that we're good to go for the next day of shooting the following day. So I go down there, I meet all of the various Adidas headquarter employees. They were super nice. They were super generous, just very, very friendly. Everyone was really excited. You got to figure this marketing agency, especially when you're like in your 20s, this is probably so much fun for you to do. So I go down there, I let them know that, hey, I'm wearing a size medium. And so they say, okay, here, go ahead and go into one of the booths so that you can try on all of our Adidas apparel, because the idea is the apparel you're going to be wearing for this photo shoot is going to be released later in the season as we try to move slightly upscale towards offering just a variety of cycling apparel like shoes, bibs, and jerseys. So I go ahead and put on the Adidas kit. I come out of the try-on booth, and then immediately, guys, I'm not kidding you, immediately I get a whole bunch of oohs and ahs from all of the Adidas corporate people saying, oh man, yes, we definitely booked the right talent for this photo shoot. So of course that made me feel really good, especially now that I'm in my 40s. I don't really get a lot of compliments anymore other than from like grandmas and aunties. So everything is really good to go. And what I really liked about the folks at Adidas is because they knew that I was more on the serious side of cycling, they asked a lot about my input when it came to certain accessories and just how things should fit. Basically, do you wear ankle socks or tall socks? And I was like, bro, tall socks. We don't do no ankle socks around here. We're not part of that movement at all. So they were like, okay, cool. And now they asked me like, do you typically wear gloves? And I'm like, yeah, I wear gloves just for safety. I don't want to give the attitude that cyclists shouldn't wear gloves, but nonetheless, that was that. Jewelry, same thing. I'm like, yeah, I don't really wear jewelry, but for the sake of the photo shoot, yeah, let's go ahead and do jewelry. So everything is going really well at this point, and I'm ready to go for the next day of shooting. Now, one part of the story I forgot to mention is during the booking of all of this before I made it down to Miami, they had asked me if I was comfortable bringing my own bike down there. Their thought process was, okay, you might as well just ride the bike that you have, especially if it's a good looking bike and it fits you properly. But then I went back to them and said, since my bike is probably not going to be insured by Adidas, if something happens to my bike during the shooting of it, they're not going to be liable. So I basically told them I'm not really comfortable bringing my own bike down there. Plus, I'm sure they probably don't want certain logos and decals of certain brands on the frame. So they said, no problem. We will have our props manager secure a bike for you once you get down to Miami. So the following day, now this is the day of the photo shoot, and we're going to go into just what that was like all together. So the day of the photo shoot, I'm speaking to the props manager, and this guy whips out a literally brand new giant TCR complete bike with Di2, 12-speed, all that stuff on there. So I asked him, I'm like, bro, where did you get this bike from? He says to me, he says, I got this bike from one of the local bike shops down here in South Beach, Miami. And I was able to get their latest and greatest bike from Giant because it turns out that either one of the employees or one of the managers, they know me and they follow my Instagram and they follow my channel. So they said, oh yeah, Patrick Lino. I don't know how they knew what my name was, but they said, oh, we know Patrick Lino. He's doing a photo shoot for you guys. No problem. We will give you the nicest bike we have on loan. Here you go. So I'm just like, bro, this could not be going any better than it was currently. So I get to the photo shoot site, and basically they're doing like variations of like CrossFit individuals. They did some tennis stuff, etc. And if you've ever seen the movie The Devil Wears Prada, this is basically what the photo shoot site looked like. It was just like, I don't know how much it cost. My guess is probably was like at least a $500,000 budget, but there was like 80 people going on. You had people from all different departments. You had hair, you had makeup, you had the props guy, you had all the corporate people. Bro, I basically was sharing a trailer with the other talent. They gave me my own robe. They gave me makeup. They trimmed up my beard. It was like full on like movie star set. It was wild. They fed us lunch, all this stuff. So at this point, I'm looking around, I'm just basically blown away because this is my first time on a legitimate shoot of this size. I'm looking at the CrossFit talent and I can tell that the photographer is really, really working them hard, like to the point where they're sweating and like on the verge of puking. And I'm thinking to myself, like, there's no way I'm gonna have to work that hard for cycling. So then later in the day, we drive to a secure location that they got permits for, and then we were going to do the cycling part of the day. So I get a chance to meet the cyclist, and I kid you not, guys, as soon as I meet the cyclist, he says to me, "Oh, by the way, I'm a cyclist myself and a marathon runner. So I see that you say you're a serious cyclist. I'm a cyclist too, so we're gonna make sure to put you to work today. We're gonna see how serious you are and how fit you are." I'm thinking like, bro, this is light work. So essentially what they wanted in order to get the shots for Adidas was they would have us basically do an out and back on a private driveway in a state park. And they would just get various angles for the apparel brand. Naturally, they want to zoom in on the logos, things like that. And the photographer, this guy probably had like 6 or 7 guys working for him, like super professional, super high end, everything you would expect Adidas to have when it came to casting, or I should say hiring the photographer. And basically doing these out and back sets, he wanted me to look like I was kind of gassed, I was kind of tired, so that the photos came across pretty authentic. But at this point, I wasn't really gassed because your boy was pretty fit at this point in the off season. Now granted, at this point it's like 10 degrees back home in Chicago, and in Miami it's like 82 degrees Fahrenheit. Crazy night and day difference. So about halfway through the shoot, he looks at me and says, "You know what? I don't think we're working you hard enough." So at this point, you know, we pretty much have gotten all the shots, but just to be safe, he's like, "You know what? Let's do several more out and back shots." So, and at this point, he is basically sort of like bungee cabled to the side of a van with the sliding door open so that he can get some of those on the bike shots of me while he can photograph from the van with lighting and all the other stuff. So at this point, he's basically wanted me to sprint, and I was sprinting into a headwind over this bridge, over this hill, about 20 times. He's like, "Okay, let's do it again. You don't look like you're tired. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. Let's do it again." Now, mind you, I'm not heat acclimated because it's winter time and I'm down in Miami. Guys, there was a point that I thought I was going to puke. It's probably been like 3 or 4 years since I've started cycling that I've ever gotten to the point where I genuinely thought I was going to puke. But like, he was working us that hard. I definitely made my money on that day, but he was working us hardcore. And like, I respect the craft. He understood the assignment. I understood the assignment, and we was able to get all the shots that we needed on that day. So like, even though in the end, they probably only use Adidas, they probably only use about 4 to 8 shots. My time on the bike as far as working was around 3 hours or so. So afterwards, when they said, you know, "Job well done, that's a wrap," all 50 of us, we all basically left the secure site that they had secured, made our way back to the hotel. I was able to speak to some of the other staff. They were really, really excited and impressed with the work that we all did collectively as a team. Literally, I just rinsed off, made my way back to the airport, and I was home that same day back with my wife back in Chicago. So all of this happened, guys. Everything I'm telling you, all this happened within about less than 2 days of actual time that I spent in Miami. And then this whole conversation from the time that I applied to the time they casted me, all of that was about 6 days. So 6 days totals for all this, where I went from not knowing what this was all about to being in Miami, doing photo shoots with Adidas, to being back home. So at least for you American viewers out there, if you go to Adidas's website, their even probably their global website, if you go to the cycling department or the cycling page, you can scroll on one of the outfits. I'll put some B-roll footage in here somewhere, but basically you can see one of my pictures on there to see what I did, what I look like. And if you go to the photographer's website, which I'll plug somewhere in this video as well, you can see the photographer is super duper talented. And there was a couple of pictures that didn't even make the website, but in my opinion, they turned out fantastically. So all in all, guys, I just want to tell you that for myself, it's just crazy to be at this point where I'm just taking pictures of myself, to the point where now I've been able to be casted by Adidas. And even the photographer said, I've seen your work online. I've seen your pictures on Instagram. I like the pictures that you have. You seem to be doing pretty good for yourself. So hats off to the photographer. Shout out to Adidas for casting me. Shout out to the agency also for believing in me, appreciating the work that I've done for these last 5 years. Thank you to my wife for taking pictures for me. Thank you to my friends here in Chicago who have also taken pictures of me on the bike. All of this has basically culminated this exact moment where I was able to be casted as a model for Adidas. Questions, comments, and concerns, please feel free to leave them down below, and I'm gonna check you guys on the next one. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Peace.